Oh,
Though I know I should be wary, still I venture someplace scary. Ghostly haunting, I turn loose. Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
all right, everybody. Hey, guys, what's going on? This is an absolutely professional stream. We can see that we have going on here. And I am
Nothing
actually
but that.
exactly, my man. Exactly. And I'm joined by the great, the Chris Knight himself from the Real Review 3000, which we will be on a little bit later this evening. Chris, say hello to the folks.
Hello to the folks.
All right. I would expect nothing less. But
Wait. I have to get in the festive mood here. There we go.
You just went up 4.5, 5 points in my book. It works for me. It works for me. You gotta don a little persona, because we all know sunglasses add +5 cool points.
Oh yes, they do.
But it has been quite a year, hasn't it?
Yeah, as much of it as I want to remember, or I'm forced to remember.
Exactly. We'll be touching upon that a little later. But on this current stream, let's look towards the future. That was my favorite Ultraman, but it's also what we put in the little description of the stream. What happens if Senator Bernie Sanders and President Donald Trump do the fusion dance? Will we have the ultimate candidate for 2024 that at that point would be 150 years old?
Jesus.
Something like that? No, probably older, because Senator Sanders would be what, like 82? President Trump would be 78?
2024.
The 80 plus 80? Oh, it'd be 160. Wow. That's almost the number of Saitama workouts I've done. I'm like, that's but the reason I bring that up, as we have our resident fact checker here, Chris Knight, is the sheer fact that apparently they're on the same page. You have Senator Sanders, who was vying for the presidency this past election cycle, as well as the current president for at least a little while longer, President Donald Trump. They both seem to want the stimulus bill to be $2,000 for the American people, because after about 2 months of arguing back and forth and people probably saying a whole lot of not nice things about each other, they were going to give the American folks $600 out of $900 billion. All I know is what I learned from Andrew Yang is that math is important. So I did the math, and 900 billion is like $2,500 per, and that's with
if it were just for the people. And again, we got to remember that the 600 is not going to everyone, because it cuts 75,000. So you'd have to do the demographics of exactly where is that, like how many people are under that line, how many people pay taxes under that line. There's a lot of other factors here. So I guarantee you the $600 a month is a small, minute fraction of the 900 million, right?
Well, here's the interesting thing, because apparently this one is up to 2.3 trillion.
What they're going to tell you is the money that they're shelling out to the things they want to tell you about. First off, when you're talking government, I would always state that understand what you're watching is like a sitcom or a soap opera. When the cameras are on, they're showing you what they want to show you, which is, look at me, I'm a Democrat, I'm a liberal. Look at me, I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican. When that camera's off, it's a much different world. They aren't all...
This is just where my mind goes to. Maybe it's because I'm a child of the 90s.
No, it is very much like that. You cannot have the Republicans and the Democrats, and it's just this. They put on a show for us. If you let me put it this way, nobody who's voted on the $600 checks or the 900 million or whatever the final tally is, nobody who's a senator or a representative read this bill page to page. In fact, your senators and your representatives rarely read these bills. There are people who make about what you and I make at our jobs, who sit in an office all day, read over as much as they can in the time that they're allotted, and then come back with it's where it's how you want to align yourself. This is how you normally align yourself. And
so what you're saying is they're utilizing intern labor.
Oh yeah. I mean, and we all know they have interns because, well, I mean, listen, the most like
famous one of all. I won't go into that.
Yeah, but Mrs. Stain on my dress. Anyways,
consent matters.
Yes.
Though some may say that the president is a position of power. Moving along, Chris.
No, all I'm saying is that there's so much in this that these senators don't even really know, and they're just at this point right now, it's all trying to placate and keep people where they're at on the side they are on. And I'm not saying if you're a Republican that no, your Republican senators and representatives aren't fighting for a conservative side of things, but they're not exactly what you think you're voting on. No one government person is. I mean, again, you can try to vilify Trump for the things that he's done, but he's not fully at fault for everything. I mean, it's like you have to dig a little deeper, and I think unfortunately in this country we don't dig deep enough. You unfortunately, of the what was it, or the 14 million or whatever people,
the numbers keep changing. It's just like 900 this,
whoever voted
this. It's like
whoever
wow,
voted. Those people who voted, maybe 25% of the people who voted actually knew and why they were voting that way.
Hold on a second, Chris. Wait. Hold on just a second. Are you saying people in government aren't acting authentic?
Oh, absolutely not. They are the most trustworthy people in the world, don't you know?
Oh, well, I can absolutely believe that because I'm on the internet, and I'm sure it's the same way.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, God, I hate to use the term of who's the worst of the two or who's the better of the worst. I mean, that terminology is actually very true. It's who's actually going to go out there and do the most of what you think they're going to do compared to who's going to go in there and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And yet when they get there, they don't do any of it and they go and do their own little thing, and I mean, right now, I think it's a perfect thing. Bernie Sanders, of course, he was running on what I would call the blank check ticket, because this guy talks about giving everybody everything, and yet will never tell you how he's going to pay for it.
Well, to be fair, they usually don't give him a chance because, like you said, it's like these are complex things, and to get into it in like a 3-minute clip, it's a little bit difficult.
But Trump has always stood by the fact that he wants more. I think right now, though, is he's trying to solidify his position where he's at to get more support to stay where he's at. And he knows that if he gets 2,000 out of the Senate, that he has a better chance of that. The problem is McConnell has decided that no, but what's funny is, and this is really interesting, you have a Republican who's the speaker of the president of the Senate, or not that, but the Senate majority leader. Let me get it right. I want to get the right terms here. You have a Senate majority leader who is agreeing with President Trump on let's attach these two provisions into the $2,000 vote. And then you got a Democrat who's attaching to himself to the $2,000 vote, but not these two attachments. So what he's still doing is Trump is using both sides to get, one, what he wants, and two, to keep them at odds, because it gives him a better chance to tie that into than somebody like Holly coming in and saying, I object. And he's really, what he's trying to do right now is really keep people watching these parties and saying, wait, you're supposed to vote this way and you're supposed to vote this way. And he's keeping it all on TV. He's really a good, God, I don't want to be chastised for saying this. Trump is a very good puppet master. He is very good at understanding how this system works. He was put in there by the people who voted for him to do something like this because he wants, and I think he genuinely wants to show the atrocities of the United States government and its systems. And he's doing a very good job. Now, do I fully agree with the way he's doing it? Maybe not, because putting them at such odds is dangerous in some points. But he is definitely showing us that this is how government really is. This is very much, the longer he keeps them on TV, the harder it is, because at 0 hour, they're really going to have to show who they really are. And that's very interesting because, again, behind the camera, when the camera's off, they can wheel and deal and do all this stuff behind the camera. He's not letting them have that chance. These are, I mean, and yes, can you watch C-SPAN and watch the proceedings like daily for hours and hours? Sure, you can. But notice when you watch those, when it's not like something that they've, like when they schedule a vote, everybody's there, but during these other proceedings, nobody's there.
Unless there's action, people usually aren't observing.
Exactly.
It's like that's the thing. Well, it almost reminds me of, sorry to cut you off, kind of, I don't know, maybe some live streams and stuff. Unless you're really interested in those particular people or the topics, very often you're not really tuning in at all. But all of a sudden, if there's some type of drama happening, we clip that out, we use it and everything. And I don't know, it seems like, are we just becoming politicians on the internet?
And Parrothead is right. Showman. He is a showman. I mean, he is. I mean, hey, he's being labeled as the reality TV president, and that's fine, and that's a good word too. But whenever you watch C-SPAN, which God help you if you do, because it's like watching the NASA channel. It's just a camera pointed out into space at the stars.
I mean, some people enjoy that.
That's fine. You notice when they're not there, what they're doing is they're back wheeling and dealing and doing these things behind your back, and they're all buddy with each other. What he has effectively done the past month and a half, 2 months, is kept these people constantly having to be in front of a camera somewhere, somehow, either the two running for their seat in Georgia, or there for a vote. They're on camera.
There's pressure. People are saying different things. And before we get too much further, we just need to help give shout outs to the people that help make this broadcast possible. It's by viewers like you, especially my patrons, Dave M. and Joe Franco. Welcome, folks. Thank you so very much. As well as a Zacharot, as well as McKinney, Parrothead as well. Thank you all for joining, and anyone else that may tune in the future and or on different platforms. But that's another story. The YouTube chat is the one that technically feeds in here. Now, as far as everything else goes, we'll just do a quick transition. All right. Now that we had a little bit of dancing squirrel there, let's take a look over here. This is brought to us by Politico here. As we can see, McConnell House's $2,000 stimulus checks are socialism for rich. So, socialism for rich. For the rich? I don't know. Is that one of those copy editor things? The majority leader's comments drew a strong rebuke from Bernie Sanders. As we can see, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell dubbed the effort to increase direct payments to $2,000 socialism for rich people, eliciting an incredulous reaction from Senator Bernie Sanders as the GOP Senate continued to decline to take up the matter on Thursday. That would be today, the last day of the year. This is a wonderful day, isn't it? Now, in his second consecutive day of attacks on the bill, McConnell accused Speaker Nancy Pelosi and the Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer of engineering a bill that sends thousands of dollars to people who don't need the help. He also blocked requests from Schumer and Sanders to hold votes on the bill this week. Borrowing from our grandkids to do socialism for rich people is a terrible way to get help to families who actually need it. McConnell said in an effort to boost the checks from $600 to $2,000, which is supported by President Donald Trump. Washington Democrat took President Trump's suggestion and skewed it so the checks would benefit even more high-earning households. All right. So this is what we kind of got going on right now, as I'm slowly learning how to use this thing as well. So social, there is the argument there, as you had said, Chris, that essentially, yeah, there could totally be some folks that, yeah, maybe they're not doing too bad right now, especially if you have the ability to work from home, if you had a decent paying job to begin with, maybe you happen to be a coder, an engineer, you might be doing pretty well. And it's like, oh, I can't go out to the pub. That kind of sucks. Okay, you might be doing fine. Now, again, the big thing is $600. And again, we need to be generous, because all I know, again, from Andrew Yang is that, well, number one, math is hard. But number two, math is important. So if I take $600 and put it into the little thingy there, and then we times it by, let's assume 350 million Americans, which people can argue about that, but we should be fine. All right, it comes to 2.1 to e to the 11, and I cannot read that. But essentially, yeah, I don't think that. Hold on, let me do it the reverse way. I'm sorry. These things happen. Technicality. It's all right. Continue. Okay, 900. No, that's million. Oh, 3 more zeros. 3 divided by 350. Okay, I think I had to do it in the other calculator. Okay, well, you see. Okay, it doesn't work, but essentially it's like 2,500. It's
$210 billion.
Right. That's not 900. All I know is if you actually divide it, which I did earlier, it comes out to like $2,500 each, and that's the 900 million one. If you did 2.3.
But remember, the 900 billion is also funding $300 a week for unemployment for every American who's in unemployment. There's a lot of numbers in here, but the thing is even when you add all the stuff that they're giving people, and they've already said this. I mean, there are people out there who are not hiding the fact that they won't vote for it, or they didn't want to vote for it because of pork bellies. And that's where you always have to understand is these things are, and I always use a very blown out of proportion thing. If you were to be told today, if you're a senator or representative, and you could vote today to feed every American, they'd never have to go hungry again in their life, and all that we had to do is kill all the babies on life support who may or may not live. Now, here's the thing. They're not going to tell you about that part of it. So everybody in the news is going to hear everybody's going to get fed from now on, and they won't have to worry about ever going hungry again. But they're not going to tell you that in order to do this, we're now going to save healthcare costs, and that's the other thing they'll throw in there. It's going to help save us on healthcare costs because people won't have to go because they're sick because they don't eat properly or whatever. They're going to spin it in every way they can, but they're not going to tell you about the fact that now we're going to pull every baby who is on life support or some sort of ventilator or incubator. We're going to take them off.
So in order to feed people, we must kill children.
They're not going to say that to you.
That sounds like a modest proposal.
But that's how they do this stuff. There's always stuff in there that they're willing. They're like, if I don't vote for this, all they're going to hear is that I didn't vote for $2,000 or I didn't vote for $600. They're not. Well,
it's the meme. It's the political meme that comes out.
No,
sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I understand exactly what you're saying.
I feel like I should clarify my last little point because you usually get most of my points, but when I say a modest proposal, literally. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. No. I understand what you.
I do not support exactly the eating of children. I support legalizing dueling.
No, that's the thing, though. They constantly will give you everything that sounds good, but they will never tell you. I mean, somewhere in this, some company, some group of companies is making out like a bandit with the majority of this money. Or somebody's lobbyist is making out like a bandit. Somebody is making money more than the American people are.
You're not supposed to say that part.
낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유를 아는 품격 있는 여자.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spaced out there for a minute. Was I saying something?
Oh, yes. Words about lobbyists. Continue.
Oh, okay. I forget what I said, and we'll just drop that then.
My bad.
I just think that we're in an interesting time right now. This has always been my issue with government, and I think that maybe Trump is kind of pushing it out there a little more to the forefront, that literally anarchy is the only way to fix government right now, because it is anarchy in and of itself. These people have been led to believe they can do whatever they want for as long as they want. I mean, hell, we have how many people have been in there over 40 years? I mean, I think that these people need to be held accountable. I don't. Well, another thing, think about this.
Term limits.
Yeah, definitely term limits. I think there should be a term limit for federal government, period. So if you decide you want to be a senator, you get like 2 terms, or let's say you could have 4 terms as a senator, 2 terms as a representative, and 2 terms of the president. Or you can have 4 terms of any combination of those, except for, of course, keep the 2 terms for president. So if you do 2 terms as president, you can only have done 1 term as a senator and 1 term as a representative, or 2 terms as a senator and 2 terms as a representative.
Put in the time you get your pension, you're out. Boom.
Well, that's fine too. I would be all right with that. But the thing is that the biggest hypocrisy of all of government, especially representatives and senators, is that we vote them in. Maybe, depending on what you want to go with.
We mark things on paper.
Exactly. These people get voted in supposedly by a majority of the people. The people vote and choose who their people are in Washington. But when they decide they want to make more money, they vote on it themselves. I'm a proponent for, if you want to get paid more, you individually have to go to your constituents and you have to campaign for that raise. And if we don't vote for it for you, you don't get it. Because if we put you there, we're your boss and we decide what you get paid. I think the junior senators should get paid a flat amount. I mean, put it this way. If you're a mayor of a town of like 200 people, they don't make much doing that. They get paid for the time they're actually there. Most of them have their own jobs off to the side. They show up for the city council meetings and things like that, and that's what they get paid for. They get paid if they sign something in. They get paid very modestly compared to what people might think. Now, bigger cities, of course, that's a different story because it's a full-time job. But those people still have their regular jobs. And same thing with county seat people. Same thing with small municipalities. These people don't get paid tons of money. I think the federal government should be held similarly. I don't think you should have to get paid a ton of money. Oh, here we go. I love this.
The last amendment to the United States Constitution. This is Amendment 27. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and Republicans shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. Basically, you got to wait till the next election. That's it. We've got all this stuff going on, and we've only got 27 amendments, and that was from like 92. I'm like, I don't know. It's been like 28 years. Maybe we could use a couple more, but that would require constitutional Congress.
And again, I don't think that that's something that necessarily Congress should have full say on. I think that the final say of anything such as a change of the Constitution should be a vote of the people. Now,
well, it's from the states. All the states have to, or at least certain amounts. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things when you dig into it. There's a lot of liberties being taken. Like with anything, even law. People talk about the Supreme Court and stuff. The Supreme Court goes off of precedent, which means if there's something showing that we've done something a certain way, that's the way we always do it. So if, for instance, let's take abortion, for instance, when that was decided on, that you can't tell a woman what they can and can't do with their body, but we can set rules to how they do it. That's a precedent that was set on, that was decided by the Supreme Court. Truthfully, anybody who wants to be against that, whether or not you're for abortion or not for abortion, it's going to be really difficult to overturn that, because the precedent was set that no, you can't tell them they can't do it, but we can tell them that they have to do it within this certain amount of time before this happens with the baby or whatnot. So that's already set. But that's the thing is that there's precedents being set in the courts, and that's how we decide things. Well, there's that too.
I like peanuts. But well, here's the thing. I'm not exactly sure the exact details of like Roe v. Wade and everything like that.
Well, I'm just using that as an
right. My big thing is, at least up here in Massachusetts, we actually ended up abolishing seatbelt laws. Those are words that I never really thought like 10, 15, 20 years ago would ever come out of my mouth, because New Hampshire, no seatbelt laws. Down here, it's like, oh, no, you buckle up, you click it or ticket. But it's literally like, why was it abolished? It's like, well, under the doctrine of bodily autonomy.
And that's
your body, your choice.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing a lot of people have to understand is, and I always use the term, you cannot force morality. You cannot force people, because once you do that, you're actually breaking the thing that, you have a right to commit the pursuit of happiness. Well, if your personal space is your car, which it is, why can they? I mean, and then first off, why can they tell you what to do in your own car? And that's a very interesting thing, because if you're a smoker out there, if your state has a seatbelt law, they're already dictating what you can and can't do in your own car. So don't think, because I've heard it from lots of smokers. I don't smoke anymore, but I used to. I have heard it from lots of smokers. Well, they're never going to be able to stop me from smoking in my car.
The argument I had heard was that a car is an extension of your home. My apologies for torturing a former smoker here. I am a terrible human being. Just the level of irony, and my nicotine was like, ooh, he said the word. Okay. I mean, addiction is a terrible thing, folks.
But when you think about that, when they dictate things that are your personal choices, right, that's pushing it in its own right. And like you said,
saying you can't have this plant. Why? Here's one of my things. And my political experiences, I don't have any political experience. I was only a senator from the College of Management, like representing like commuters and stuff like that. But I mean, this was years ago. I very often voted against different people and stuff. And like the new president had come by and he said some words. You seem to like explain yourself and you didn't necessarily do everything. I'm like, I just look at him like, all right, well, this is a situation. I'm like representing my constituency. This is what I do. Doesn't matter if it's necessarily in my best interest. It's like, you got to take care of the folks. But
exactly.
My thing is, I think a lot of the things that are necessarily illegal, I think we should review just a lot of the laws on the books, because like I'll see like these different protests, these different movements and everything, and a lot of it's like they're protesting like for like some federal law or a court case or something. I sit back, I'm like, why is this necessary? And then if you actually go look into it, depending on the state, there's certain laws that are still on the books where somebody may be discriminated against. I sit back, I'm like, why the hell are these laws still on the books? Why are we going through all this BS and people hating on each other? Like, isn't it the simpler thing? Just repeal these laws that are out of date, that nobody cares. But it's like, what? You're not going to get credit for it? Oh, it might make you look bad within your constituency? F that BS. It's like, stand up, do something that's actually going to be useful for the people. And it's like, just all this meandering. It's like you would solve so many problems just doing that. Like if the law doesn't apply or you need to change it, just do it right there. And like everyone just seems to be at such tension at each other's necks and everything, to the point where it's like, all right, you literally have people fighting in the streets. You have Americans killing Americans over politics, which I think a lot of this is literally just because of the media, us included right here, right now, as I'm blinking in and out of existence.
Yeah. But I think that, go ahead.
Okay. My big thing was this is, okay, if we're going to have these laws and people have major disagreements about these laws, if you want to keep this stuff illegal, you vote to keep it illegal. Like, I tend to think it's like, there should almost be like a political seppuku in some of this legislation. Like, if you need to renew this, there's a sunset clause on this, but anybody that votes to renew this, you can't run for re-election this time around. oh my God, my stars and garters, I do declare. It's like, really? Who the heck cares about that? If it's so important, you're willing to give up your career. Like, and there's also why I support legalization of dueling.
Really?
People have skin in the game. Oh no, there is a video that will come out at some point about it. But
okay, I'm looking at. So of the states, yes, I'm looking here. I'm sorry, I'm doing my research.
No, you do that. I'm going to give a shout out to Orla. Orla, no eating people in my chat. I realize you're a cannibal like Jensen. I respect you as a human demon. No eating people, at least not in my presence. As well as Curtis, Curtis YZ, as well as good old Bone. Welcome, Bone. As I give myself a cramp downstairs there. It's all right. Try not to get old, folks. It's a terrible thing, as well as addictions. But Chris, did you have some more research for us?
Yeah. Okay. So 9 states have either not voted on legalization of marijuana, or are under the decriminalization of it, but they don't really have any laws on the books. So first off, think about that with the millions of people who are in prisons right now. That only 9 states haven't decided anything on this. Legal, not legal.
Is there a map? Is there a map of the states?
Yeah, here.
Does it? Okay, yeah. Let's take a look at this. Because my theory, and again, I am not an attorney or anything, is once, oh my God, we've done it. Okay, there is a path. No. Yes. See, what I'm saying right here is basically if you can unite the East Coast with the West Coast, as soon as East and West Coast, you literally have a physical path of which you are not a criminal. At this point, the Interstate Commerce Clause, the states have said you can do this.
Here's the thing. So, like right here, I'll give you your path right now, as it stands, where you could end up making this if it happens. So, these black are all, it's legal, full legal, medical, recreational. The only laws that are on the books is traveling with, because they all have their rules of how much you can actually carry with you at the time. Right. This is decriminalized, New Mexico. So you can make it from this, you can go south, you can come north through Colorado. Now you're stuck here because 1, not decriminalized, 2, not decriminalized, but it is medicinal. But you would have to have a federal medicinal card, which they don't offer. If you go up here, it is fully illegal, but it is decriminalized. So you could technically come through here, not smoke, not do anything, come through Nebraska, and then come back down through here where we've decriminalized it here in Missouri, and we do have medicinal use. Make it to Illinois, go jump on a boat, or actually, you'd have to jump on a boat, make it over to Michigan. You can come back down. It's decriminalized in Ohio and it's mixed. It's medicinal use. And then you're kind of in a pickle. So I'm going to say this. I think we're going to go full legal here soon. I think Kansas is about ready to sign it as medicinal, which means they'll probably have to decriminalize it because it's going to be really difficult for them to do something to you. If you say, I lost my medicinal marijuana card, well, then you need to go back and prove that you had one. Well, don't tell me you're not going to find a doctor who's going to say, yeah, here, just go ahead. Because I can give you some stories about how California used to do it. It's really funny.
No. I had gotten my card at one point. It's like, here's $200. Here's your doctor's visit and everything. Exactly. And then they had to renew it each year. And I'm like, like BS.
So if Pennsylvania were to decriminalize it, you would have a path. And I guess Indiana and Pennsylvania would have to decriminalize it. Because other than that, all this up here, it's either legal or decriminalized or medicinal. I mean, literally, you can, and that's your path. I mean, you're so close. It's not even funny. The big linchpin, honestly, is Kansas. Kansas will be one of the last to even make any decision on this, probably. But this is where I go with the funny side of things. There are so much problems in the United States based off of the simple use or carrying of marijuana. This is something our forefathers used. This is something that products, even to this day, are using. I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's where we got one of our.
If you weren't done, I would leave it up. So there's so many problems in the United States. Overcrowding of prisons, which right now, because of the fluffy bunny disease, they've kind of thin that herd out somewhat. But don't tell me for a second that the next time they catch these people, this won't be on the record and they won't go right back. I mean, there's something like that's going to happen. But there's so much money being wasted on this problem that the federal government, with one signature from the President of the United States, could make a cloud or a blanket rule that states one is that's better for what we're talking about, that's for sure. This cloud can go over to the United States and say it is no longer illegal, which I think they have decriminalized it on the federal level, but I don't remember if Trump changed that again.
No, I think it's still
is
series one drug.
And that's the thing. It's like series one. It's like, what the hell? How does it get there? Because here's the thing. One, you could decriminalize it, and you don't have to legalize it. You can say every state within the next year has to make a flat out vote. Is it legal or is it just medicinally legal? It will no longer be illegal.
The path that we took here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it's probably been about 10 years now. First, we decriminalized it. So we stopped putting people in jail for having like a joint or something on them, like distribution, especially to children or something. No, that's a crime. You're giving kids drugs.
Yes, there's still, even in places where it's legal, it still has crimes attached to it. But we have now taken away from the fact that you can smoke it in California, in Nevada, in Alaska. I mean, Alaska, think about Alaska. This is not a Democrat or a Republican thing. Alaska is full-on conservative Republican, and they've legalized it. This is not, so people who think that this is something about Republicans won't do it or Democrats are the only ones who want it. No, that's not how this is. Again, you have to look at everything. It's not black and white. It is gray. Government is very gray. It's muddied water. But yeah, but you tell every state, we cannot tell you what you have to, what you can do with it. But one, you will decriminalize it, but you have to choose, do you want to be a full legal or do you want to be just medicinal? First choice, second choice. Vote on it in the next year, 365 days.
Decide your path to legalization.
Two, the federal government, no matter if it's legal or if it's medicinal, would put a tax on it. You would take out anybody who had possession charges out of your city jails, your state, your county, your federal. Boom, you guys are out within, we have to do this in steps because you can't just let a bunch of people out all at one time because that doesn't work that way. But you do this over a 2-year period, you'll fix a lot of the problems we have with our economy because money will be siphoning into the federal government. Now, what the federal government does with the money, there's the next problem. But let's just say now the government's going to have a lot more money coming in because people are going to be able to buy it and be open about doing this.
I'll toss Uncle Sam on that.
Well, and then on top of that, we're going to diminish how many people we have in jails, in prisons, in county jails, and all that. You're going to have people stop worrying about this guy in the corner. Is he smoking a rolled cigarette or is he smoking a doobie? They don't care anymore. Again, these little things that would severely free up a lot of space. It would free up a lot of money. It would free up a lot of police work that is really not necessary. You know how many papers, even to this day, even on computer, there's a lot of paperwork that goes into booking somebody. And there has to be a full-on report. And this is even if they pull a guy aside and he has half an ounce of weed in his pocket. Now he has to, in some states, he has to be arrested. You have to take him in. You have to fingerprint him. You have to think about how better used a policeman's work and time would be if they didn't have to worry about this. And these are simple.
Missing children and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is simple stuff, but why hasn't it happened yet? These are the questions. It seems simple, but why haven't they done it? It's because it doesn't benefit anybody in government. They haven't figured out how to profit off of it.
Are people profiting off of it?
Certain people are. But you have to figure out how to put it this way. I guarantee people are profiting off of this because one, California has been in the red for years and years and years. And they're starting to come out a little better. Now this happened, so we'll see how everything looks after this year because that state has so many damn people in it that that it looks like mountains when you look at their budgets and stuff.
Oh no, they
Colorado
been red for years, and they've recently been the black with the maturation of Silicon Valley. Yeah,
Colorado was in the red, and within 2 years, they now have a surplus every year, and they're budgeted. That whole state, from what I've read, is fully budgeted for all their departments. Everybody gets a good portion of money. Roads get worked on. People have jobs. Before this, let's just be this whole fluffy bunny disease has changed a lot, but they were in the black in 2 years without problems, and it's all because of one vote.
Now,
hold on just a second.
Right on. Do what you got to do, man. Now, I sit back, and as Chris was saying, it's like, all right. I sit back, I'm like, why is this the case? Who might be profiting? It's not like we have a for-profit prison system or anything like that where your income is essentially based upon your occupancy. So if you're a private company and you need to make money, and as the goal of the business, it's like, oh, so you do well with higher level occupancy, and not like there was a judge or something like that was found to, I don't know, be sending a bunch of kids off to I don't know, let's just say a form of a youth detainment facility or something like that, because it's like, is this in the best interest of this child in this situation, or am I potentially, I don't know, maybe earning a few bucks or a few perks off of that? Personally, I kind of view that as treason, in my opinion. Perhaps we need a broader definition of treason, because I tend to think as soon as actual people in positions of power, if they were to be charged with it, and something like that happens to have the penalty of potential death, I feel like people might make better choices. Again.
I want to show you something. You just brought up something. This is what I'm going to point out, the fact that the problems of government that nobody talks about. But how a private prison company will make their money, and well, yeah, I mean, I'm with memes on that. You gotta be careful.
Right.
Allow ads. Hold on. I have to
Do what you gotta do.
I have to allow ads on this side because, well,
that's all right. I know it's adapting. The internet is adapting around us all the time.
Okay.
Right. Let's see.
So this is from Kansas City Star. I'm from Kansas City, people. I don't hide it. How did 70 plus children go missing from the Kansas foster care system? Anybody have anybody want to start with the problem with this article right here? In the state of Kansas, we're parents. We'd report them for neglect, or we'd report them for neglect. The state is responsible for about 7,000 children through the foster care system, and in fact, Kansas has been neglectful. The state doesn't know where more than 70 children in foster care ate their last meal, or even if they're safe. The state can't tell you where all these children sleep each night. 3 foster children, sisters ages 12 through 15, went missing in late August from the Tonganoxie home of their great aunt, who had custody of the girls. Media was alerted when Tonganoxie police posted it on their Facebook page seeking the information from the public. It doesn't take much to imagine and to recognize the dangers that might be lurking for those girls. Consider the type of person who would be willing to offer them a meal or a place to sleep while not alerting authorities. To plead its side of this sad story, the Kansas Department of Children and Families on Wednesday released its protocols, guidelines for case managers to follow when the child goes missing or is abducted. Certainly, step one is to have such measures in place, but they are ineffective in the State Department. Doesn't ensue that such guidelines are consistently followed, and that remains an unanswered question. That's basically. I just wanted to show that really quick, because here's the thing, folks. That's Kansas government admitting that they don't know where more than 70 children in their care are at. Yet we're concerned about the guy that's carrying half an ounce of marijuana, and they will make in Kansas. They will pursue that guy to the ends of hell and back, because that's a problem. But these 70 children, don't worry, they've got it under control. Yes, they're missing, but it's okay because we'll figure it out. This is government for you.
So I tend to think that state resources would be better spent finding the missing children.
You'd
Kind
think
of
that.
like I saw the police officers in the chopper out there earlier because apparently there was a young autistic child that happened
Mhm.
to go missing in the neighborhood, and they're looking everywhere and
Yeah.
everything. Power to them. It's like that's
But that,
one of the things that gives me faith in humanity when I see things like that. If those same cops were throwing people on the ground because they had like a joint and something on them, I'm like, yeah,
but
that
you know the difference, truthfully, about that? That autistic child, while they're in the system in some way, they probably have parents who are looking for them. When the state's the parent, this right here, this is proving. And even then, the foster system, their aunt's supposed to be watching them. Wouldn't they be like doing some sort of a check-in every other week or just random check-ins without telling them? No. See, again, like you said, resources. They don't have, and I mean, I understand this. I have both my kids, and you know, I get child support for them, things like that. Nowhere near what it costs to keep them, but they checked on me. They check on me. They give me these things. But the thing is when I've asked them to check on why this isn't happening or why this isn't happening, I'm always told, well, the resources. We just don't have the resources. So you aren't telling me that if Kansas, for instance, this case, were to basically say we're not going to worry about marijuana anymore. We're just right now we're just going to decriminalize it. We'll talk about medically legal or fully legal later on, but we're just going to decriminalize it. We're going to tell every state agency, every city, everybody, do not worry about this right now.
Right.
We've got 70 children missing. We've got to figure this out.
That seems like something people should be able to rally around. And again, it just unfortunately it seems all too often what benefits who, and it just, in my opinion, I think a lot of this, I tend to think most folks are good people, but unfortunately, even if you're a good person, we all do stupid-ass. The thing that I see with a lot of this situation is a lot of folks, they'll go through mental gymnastics, because I've done this myself, saying it's like, okay, I might be compromising my morals here, but you know what, I'm going to do a better job than the other person that may get in. So as long as I'm in here, I'll eventually be able to do a net good. And I think a lot of people do believe that. And as far as where we've come from, if you look at where we are as a society, maybe let's null out 2020, just at least for the moment. It's like, dude, compared to 100 years ago, it's like we've come so far. We're literally on the cusp now of starting to understand the actual fabric of our universe and what we may potentially be able to do with new technology, actually exploring the heavens and stuff. And we're busy fighting in the streets and arguing over, well, how should we go about dealing with a plague, which we've dealt with literally exactly 100 years ago.
But it's no longer. I'll tell you right now, the whole fluffy bunny disease. It's not any longer about how to deal with it. It's how do we deal with it, but we make money off of it. I saw the day that California is reporting that somebody's dying every 10 minutes. Now, I'm not out there. I don't know if that's right or true or not, and I'm not going to say it is or isn't. I never deal in absolutes with this. It's a policy of mine because I don't have that information right there in front of me to know that it's real or not. But if we take them for their word, if we take them at their word, 10 people one person every 10 minutes is dying. My question now is okay, well, they're saying that perhaps this vaccine might keep you from getting it or protect you after you get it from getting it again. So once we stabilize a patient and before we send them home, why aren't we just saying, you get a vaccine? We need you to have a vaccine. Why not, when somebody comes in and gets tested, don't we just give them a vaccine? If they have a negative, just give them the vaccine. Just do it. Because if this vaccine is supposed to be for everybody, let's not worry about, and I know this may sound bad in a way, let's not worry about how old you are, what class you are, if you're handicapped, if you're not handicapped. Let's just get people vaccinated. If that's what we're really after, why aren't we just doing it that way? Why aren't we just doing it? If you think you've had it, if you think you've been exposed, we're giving it to you now. Even if you end up getting it, it's in you. Maybe it'll help you, or as time goes on. But they're worrying about phasing it out there, putting it out there in phases. But I guarantee you, if you follow this, it's based off of money. They're not making people pay for it, but somebody is profiting off of this somewhere, somehow. And the way it's being handled is being profited with somehow, some way. Because we're making distinctions on who should get it first. Why?
Well, I mean, in the hierarchy of prioritization, I understand. Like, if you're a frontline healthcare worker and you're coming in contact with people that may potentially have it, and you want the whole thing is to maintain the current medical infrastructure. Well, you don't want those folks getting potentially sick, potentially spreading it around. You want to minimize that, as well as other people that may be in certain higher risk groups. I mean, that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, story the other day, it's the oldest resident of Massachusetts, a 112-year-old lady. I mean, she's getting it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, well, if you can get it, maybe I'm not too worried about a shot.
Well, and I'm not saying to stop that, but I'm saying, we have all these people coming through for testing and stuff, why are we? Listen, you have to give them a choice. You can't just stick them in the arm and just do it.
That matters.
You should be saying, okay, let's say I'm in the hospital for a month and I come out of it and I'm like, okay, well, that sucked. Why aren't you going to come up and say, here's a vaccine. We know that you're probably immune to this for another 3 months, but if you get it now, you may not ever have to worry about this again. And we don't know if this is going to be a yearly thing like the flu shot. We don't know yet. We don't know that. We're still on the early side of it. But like the Spanish flu, at a certain point, you have to start making sure everybody has a chance to get it as soon as because am I going to go back to the hospital? Or if I'm working every day like I am right now, me going out of my way to get a vaccine is asking a lot.
Right.
If I happen to be there because my work sends me to get tested, that's when you should be saying, we have the vaccine right now. Would you like the shot now? Now, you can still do that, and you can still focus on the people they want to, the risk factors, the frontline workers. I mean, but what's funny is I don't think I've heard the police officers or firefighters are getting it yet. Are they not first?
I've heard that at least Governor Baker over here in the Commonwealth, he wanted basically the frontline workers, high risk groups, as well as like our first responders to get. Because if you're going out to this is massive.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, like, I mean, that does make sense. A lot of people are still pissed about everything. I understand that. My thing is, on Governor Baker, we are a more progressive blue state. However, we have a habit of electing Republican governors. They're pretty moderate governors, like Governor Romney, who had run for president in recent years as well. But my big thing is, and again, that's part of the argument. Like, if you literally just had it and you recovered, technically, you probably should have antibodies for that period of time as well. But logistically, like you said, if you're already there, it's a lot easier to offer. And what I would say to this, which adds an additional layer of complexity here, is while you want to prioritize, according to my knowledge or what I've heard, this essentially needs to be stored at like extraordinarily cold temperatures. And then when raised to a certain temperature, I think it's like 50 or so degrees, you then only have like 72 hours in order to utilize it. So in situations like that, where if you have certain batches of vaccine, that if you only got like a day left, but as far as the efficacy of actually applying it, guess what? Maybe if they're not in the highest risk group and it's going to go bad, maybe you, like you said, you give the person the choice. Would you like to get this right now? Boom. And I've heard it's approximately $450 per either vaccination or dose. That's a huge difference there. But again, there is money. I'm sure I'm blinking in and out of existence a little bit here. These things happen. But assuming that, it's like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure giving a person the option to have it rather than throwing it out would be better. I mean, it's not like people are getting compensated for like their waste or anything like that, rather than giving it to a human being, perfectly good vaccine, if the person consents to it. I mean, that sounds like a crime.
I've read that I think 11 million doses have been delivered. 2.1 million have been given. Now, I don't know. Again, I'm not there. I don't know. Are we still keeping it in the freezers? Are we still? And now we got two different vaccines. This is another thing. You have to get 2 shots of each of these. Are we keeping track of who has which one? I mean, I'm sure they are. But that seems like something that could go wrong.
My friend on Facebook, they posted a card. It had her name.
Okay. But 11 million vaccines have been delivered. 2.1 have been given. I think I've read for the Pfizer, it's 30 days it can be frozen, and that's its life cycle period. After 30 days, if it hasn't been thawed, if it hasn't been used, it's no longer good. So we're already up on like about 15 days of this right now. or 15 to 20 by now. How many of those initial doses are out there still? Do we know? I mean, they've got to be keeping track of that. But then, like you said, how many doses have we thrown out? Well, we thought we had everybody lined up, but hey, you and I have probably both missed doctor's appointments. You and I probably have called in sick to work one day. You can't tell me that I think it's 6 out of every vial, 6 doses out of every vial. You cannot tell me that every one of those have been used as is, because you have 6 people who are supposed to be there in the next hour or however long it lasts, or 3 days or whatever. Somewhere these things are getting wasted. That's just a built-in fact. It's going to be wasted. Again, like you said, when we've got it there, hey, I got 1 dose here. We got 2 hours before this dose is dead. I think we need to go down to the emergency room and probably ask around, hey, who wants this? And I mean, maybe there's a better way of doing it. Maybe you go down to the emergency room. Hey, you're over 70. Have you had a vaccine? Do you want the vaccine? Boom, give it. It's gone. It's done. We've saved that money. The money actually in this, I'll tell you right now, is in the name of who did it. Pfizer, AstraZeneca. Because in 20 years after this is all a flu or whatever it's going to become, and they're still providing that. They're the first ones that did it. That name will be thrown around. Everybody knows who Salk is. He's the guy that came up with the polio vaccine.
Oh, I do
now.
now.
You don't. You see, you do now. But the thing is, we don't deal with polio like we used to. But trust me, his name was worth money after that had been eradicated, because everybody knew it came from Salk.
Right. No. I saw you an article right before this.
The money is in the name. When they release a new drug for something, when you hear Pfizer or you hear AstraZeneca, your ear is going to pop up. It's just human reaction. That's where the money's going to come out. It's maybe not right now, but it is there. That's the thing right now, and we all have to be aware of that. I mean, the money is not in a cure; it is in the control or the control of the disease.
The discounted value of all future earnings, which all of a sudden help come up with a vaccine that essentially lets the planet reopen. It's like, that's going to stay in people's memories for a while. It's like, oh, Pfizer, oh, BioNTech. It's like Moderna. It's like, okay, those were the companies that helped us be able to go back outside and go to concerts again.
Well, I'll put it this way to you, and then I got to run. First off, how old are you? Give or take. You don't have to put your actual age out there, but
36.
36. Okay. I'm 43. We both come from a generation, you on the back side of it, me on the front side of it, that dealt with the AIDS epidemic that today nobody knows about. My kids out there have never dealt with the AIDS epidemic the way we did. There was a time when people were afraid to touch people because we thought it was transmissible that way. As we learned more about it, as we went on, nowadays, people live with AIDS. We were told that wasn't possible. They haven't learned how to eradicate it, but they've learned how to control it. You can't tell me that they couldn't figure out how to stop it. It's just there's no money behind it.
No, the money's in treatment as well.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If I can treat you for the rest of your life, if you're 20 and you come down with AIDS, and I can give you a pill every day for the next 40 years of your life that's going to help control that and keep you in a place where you can live, it doesn't affect your day-to-day functions. But that pill or that prescription costs you $300 a month. And now let's throw insurance on there. You're going to pay somebody for insurance. It's going to give you a card. It's going to let you get a percentage off. Somebody's still paying that money to them. You're going to live with it. You're going to have it, but you have to take that pill every day.
What you're saying right now, all I know, Chris, and I know you got to get going, and we'll wrap up on this, is my entire life, and probably yours, they've told us you can't cure the common cold, which happens to be a coronavirus. Mm-hmm. We have all these different treatments for the common cold. And then all of a sudden, fluffy bunnies come around, and in 9 to 10 months record time, after we get it fully genetically sequenced, look, we found the cure. It really makes you wonder, but hey,
if they figure that out, if they can, I mean, that's still on the side of things. But don't think for a second, and again, I don't want anything to get flagged on your channel because they're very particular about this. I am not saying this is a fact. I'm not saying it isn't a fact. I'm just saying the possibility that they will ever completely find a cure for this is slim to none, not because they couldn't, but because there wouldn't be an absolute reason for them to do it, because that's another thing that you can come into the doctor and see the doctor. It's another thing you need a prescription for, or you need a vaccine. I mean, most people still can get the flu shot for free. I don't know if there's anybody that has to pay for the flu shot. But again, somebody's making money off of that. Somebody is making money off of that.
Well, with that being said, they always say follow the money. We have Chris Knight wrapping up with his opinion. And hey, thank you so much for joining me today, Chris. I definitely had some fun. So with that, thank you all for watching. Peace out, everybody. Be safe, and long live the elbow bump. Whoop.
Though
I hit the wrong thing. Here we go.
낮에는 따사로운 인간적인 여자 커피 한 잔에 여유